Tesla is killing it in China. We've got reports now that not only is a new Model Y having sales of 100,000 units in just 10 days, but even the old classic Model Y is still selling very well. Last week, Tesla saw 10,000 new vehicle registrations, which was a 28% increase from the week prior. We also have the list of the best-selling EVs in China, arranged by selling price. This is a very important way to look at it. And the Model 3 is not to be left in the dust. Edmunds just awarded Tesla's new Model 3 the Edmunds Top Rated Award in the electric car category. Today, let's explore what will happen this year when Tesla launches several new vehicles in China, particularly the more affordable models. Welcome, Brian. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, this is, I was excited for the Model 3 refresh. This one is going to be insane.
So you lived in China, you follow the Chinese auto market very closely. So this is the question, right? Like the most important thing when you're looking at the how well is Tesla selling in China and who's winning and who's losing and so forth. What people don't ever do is they don't rearrange it by the vehicle selling price. Which segment are they selling into? We're going to take a closer look into that. And then what happens when Tesla sells more affordable models? Who are they going to compete with? And what's going to happen to those competitors? So let's start first with Tesla's Model Y. This is the classic version, right? The existing.
Nope.
Oh, this one here is not?
I'm seeing the flying robot.
Oh, thank you. That gotcha. All right. So let's take a look at the Tesla Model Y. This is a classic version. It's still selling well in China, despite the new version launching 10 days ago. So plus, if you look at the new vehicle registrations of the third week, it's still rising. So that's really interesting. So let's take a look at the data here. So as of January 13th to 19th in China, Tesla insured 10,000 cars. And we'll see here how they break down. But I think 80% of those were Model Ys. And in terms of quarter, at this point, it's a little bit 0.8% quarter over quarter from, of course, last year. Normally, right? You'll explain that January is a slowdown. 3.8% increase from year over year compared to where we were last year, and negative 18% versus the third quarter of 24, which was the best quarter after 3 weeks, highest week of the quarter. And then Roland also pointed out that the Model Y accounts for 80% of Tesla sales in China last week, 2,000 Model 3s, and close to 8,000 Model Ys. And what's your thinking about that report about what happened to the sales?
Well, I think it's a fantastic number. I get why some people would want to get it. Maybe you just like the look better. Maybe you're worried that you're not going to get the price or the color that you wanted, especially if the blue is being changed over entirely for glacier blue. Maybe you just want that. What you said in the intro was absolutely true. If we look at Tesla's sales in China, Tesla is a strong seller. BYD sells more total units. Tesla is not the leader per brand, but per model it is, the Model Y. But what you pointed out is if we were to slice it by revenue, Tesla is the runaway success because like we've discussed on a previous show, Tesla's got the most expensive vehicle on the list by far of all the top sellers. But let's look at it a third way. Let's look at it by profit. There are cars on that list that you could purchase for cheaper than the profit on a Model Y. So there is, and a lot of those cars are being sold at a loss from the other brands. So it could be that like Apple, while they have a small chunk of the market, they make up the majority of the profit. And so, yeah, those numbers are fine, but the Juniper numbers are going to be insane.
Okay, great point. So I do have those charts to explain how it breaks down by price and how it breaks down by revenue. I don't have the profit, but I think we already know Tesla's the only one making the profit. Yeah.
Yeah. BYD makes a narrow margin. That's great. Yeah. I'm happy for them. We need to see more of that. As if you can make a small profit while expanding, you're doing great. But like you said, the others, there's a limit to how much pain you can endure to grow your market.
I just did a show that showed an independent audit accounting firm has discovered that BYD was hiding $44 billion. They probably have $44 billion of debt that they've been hiding through their supply chain financing. Wow. So they may show that they have profit, but they may actually be, it's all little muddy, muddy with numbers. So it's getting back to Model 3, Model Y. In yellow, it's the Model Y, and then green, it's the Model 3. And you can see here, that's the breakdown of the sales by week as the months go on. The classic Model Y appears to be having a notable swan song of sorts in China, still selling very well despite the launch of its successor. This is what you can see from the last week. And I think the reason why that is, right, Brian, is because they did a fantastic job, Tesla did, creating the new Model Y and having this launch version and separating it from the existing Model Y. It's almost like there's no crossover at this point yet. Is that true, or do you think that they why is just two different cars still?
I could see that being the case where the new one is sufficiently different that people think of it as different. It certainly looks like a different car to me. If the entire front and the entire back are different, the middle part of the car is, looks like many, many other cars. So I could see it being something where people have a different opinion of the old one or the new one and a preference. But one thing we talked about before, it's possible that there's incentives on this and people just want to get the incentives. And we've talked about this before where a lot of people don't understand how big the change is going to be in terms of quality and comfort and all that from the old version to the new version. They might think, well, it just looks a little different. I need a car today. Why wait? And if there's any kind of incentive on it that there will not be on the new one, let's just get it and be done with it.
And it's also true, right, Brian, that if you order a Model Y right now, you won't get it till March or April or
Oh,
May.
yeah, especially in China where there will be a backlog.
Yeah, there's a huge backlog already. So if you look at the new Model Y, we've reported this several times already. People are saying that by looking at the registration numbers of on the launch day versus what it is today, it's showing you that there's at least 100,000 units already sold in just 10 days. A record-breaking success for a car that hasn't even arrived at the source for display yet. So that's how people are assuming that there's 100,000 sales. And a lot of the Tesla stores in China have reported that they're getting like each 100, the deluge and 100 orders per store. So there's a lot of credence to this.
So what you need to recognize with that many pre-orders is, why even bother if people are going to sell it? Just, no, because I need to know where you're buying it. If I can fill every order by location, my logistics is cheaper. My shipping is cheaper. All of it is cheaper if I can just do it that way. If I know I can make 500 white cars in a row or 500 red cars in a row. I don't need to switch them around, and instead of sending a train with a bunch of cars and then breaking it into trucks and then smaller deliveries, the batching gets cheaper, the logistics gets cheaper, your parts orders come in more smoothly. It is just a margin machine at that point. It really helps.
Okay, let's take a look. What happened in electric vehicles in China? We like AJ. He's got great work. You can follow him on X at ALOJOH. He reported this previously, and I think we've shown it before, but it's such a great chart because I don't know why people rarely include the price of the car. So these were the best-selling electric vehicles in China in December and included the price range in Canadian yuan or Chinese yuan. Do you notice something? He's having fun there. There are more than one key observations for investors. Okay, let's take a look at this. So you've got this, and I'm going to scroll in a little bit so people can see it a little bit better. You've got the Model Y. It's number one, right, in sales. But look at the price point. It is $61,000 US dollars. This is converted to US dollars. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the one there. $61,000. Seagull is next in terms of price at $48,000. So when people say that they compete with each other, they really don't. The only company that Model Y does compete with is Zeekr, and they don't even show up here.
No, hang on.
Go ahead.
You're, I don't know what those numbers on the right are, but those do not correspond to the selling price.
Oh,
249 to 354 versus 70 to 80.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you want to redo that?
No, let's just keep going. This is good. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for explaining that. This is the price point here. Yeah. I think this is probably the rating, right? I can't remember what that was.
Might be the volume.
The volume. There you go.
Weekly volume.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then that's why that's right. That's the volume. That's why they're number one. This is number two. It's who rose up to the top. So yeah, there you go. That's the difference, right? That the price point. Look at the price point difference between, let's say, the number 3 car, the Wuling. These guys are like one
Yeah.
tenth, yeah,
Yeah. And
to
even the
one third.
Seagull is 5x.
Yeah.
The Model Y is 5. I mean, it's, yeah, and they keep getting cheaper and cheaper as you go down. Well,
Mhm.
I guess not necessarily, but they're vastly cheaper.
Now Xiaomi is just a new entrant, and
Hmm.
they're about the same price as the Model 3. They are a direct competitor to Model 3, and they've done very well for their new entry. So I would agree that that is a competitor. Do you know much about the Xiaomi SU7?
I sure do. The SU7 is made currently by GAC, which is a government company. We know Xiaomi's losing money on every unit they sell, but what we don't know is how much additional money GAC is losing on it. And it might be, yeah, it's GAC, I'm pretty sure, that makes it. Now they have applied for a permit to change the name of the factory to a Xiaomi factory so that technically they would be making it themselves. But it is a fantastic car. It gets fantastic reviews. It is one of, if not the best first offerings of a company I've ever seen. It's very popular. It's beautiful. It's full of features, and there's no way in heck they're building it for anywhere close to 30 grand. Xiaomi makes a whole lot of money on smartphones. They're one of the biggest smartphone companies in the world. So they have the capacity to subsidize their auto division with their other operations. And that's the only reason they're surviving. Their hope is to get enough market share, enough consumer demand that they can begin raising prices to what they actually should be, while also reducing the costs to build. GAC has been making cars for a long time. They know what they're doing. They're very good at it, but it's going to take some time. So the limit to how many Xiaomis you can sell is how much your appetite for losing money quarter over quarter is. And theirs appears to be reasonable. They will continue selling in reasonable volume.
There you go. Okay, thank you very much. So that was a good first look at that. He asked the question, "What do you notice?" So a bunch of people answered it, and let's take a look at some of the comments that they made. This Michael says, "Tesla's okay. What do I notice? Tesla's number one, and they have the highest price. That's crazy. Shows how good the product is and how bad people want it because they know it's the best." And that is before the new Model Y, because that was in December. So
Yeah.
imagine what's going to happen when the new Model Y, and we just talked about how it's already 100,000 ratings, that number is going to keep going up, right? I mean, that's, I don't know, at the very least, the same. But I
Yeah.
think they've improved on it as opposed to, uh, obviously the weird part is that it's a launch version. So it's going to be until they release kind of the equivalent level of trim.
So I'm going to disagree on that because a lot of
Mm,
people would have bought those features anyway. The car doesn't cost extra. They just told you have to buy a couple extra features. All paint colors are included in the launch edition, and you get the premium wheels in the launch edition. And those are worth every penny that you pay if you'd have bought them. So anybody who wanted those trim options, for them, the car cost the exact same as what they would have paid. And I am so bored of hearing stories since forever that Tesla's story in China is done. The
mm.
competition is here. There are cheaper cars that are better. Yeah, they just don't sell as many of them. People want this product, and it's only, like you said, about to get better.
It's going to get better. Okay, another comment. Warren Redlick says the Xiaomi SU7 is doing surprisingly well for a newcomer. Yep, we took a look at that. Tesla's the only foreign brand. Why don't you speak about that?
Oh, that's actually a very good point. So other companies have tried to do it, Volkswagen through partnerships, GM through partnerships. They don't work out well. What they should do is just license their name to a company in the country to just make anything and call it a GM. That's effectively what they did with the Wuling. For a time, Wuling was a joint venture with GM. I don't know if it still is, but it's not a GM product in any way imaginable. The electric Mercedes brand, the EQ series, sells terribly in China, and the numbers are still falling. Mercedes is not the aspirational brand it used to be in China. I'm sure for many models, maybe the G Wagon or the S series, they are still quite popular among the very rich, but these are all Chinese, these are all homegrown brands. They've got a price advantage. They've got a price advantage in that they're local, but a price advantage in that they are Chinese cars, and And if you want to make something that's mass market, you're going to have to survive on a very thin margin. And a lot of these foreign companies simply refuse to do that.
Perfect. You know a lot. That's why you're perfect to keep educating us. Another one from James Stevenson was, when you look at that list of all these top selling electric vehicles in China and you range it by price too, or at least you show the price, James pointed out that 2 of the 3 with a starting price over 21,000, there's 3 of them with a starting price over 21,000 US dollars, they're Teslas. So most of that list are the lower price. Imagine selling cars under $20,000 US. That's a interesting point. That's the market in China. You know,
it's the Model Y, the Model 3, and the Xiaomi Model 3 that are over
that are in that
21,000.
list of top selling.
Yeah. I was just I was just poking Xiaomi for making what they call a Model 3.
It's a Xiaomi Model 3. Yeah. Okay, so then you were saying earlier, let's take a look at it based on revenue. This guy, Phil Harrison, adjusted for revenue. Top car sales by adjusted revenue. This is, it's just by far, so far ahead. Xiaomi, good, again, very great that they came out so close in the first, do you think that is just a blip first month appearing, or is it going to be sustained?
I thought it was going to be a blip when it came out earlier last year, but it wasn't. They just kept ramping. So the Xiaomi, if they are capable of affording the ongoing losses, will continue to grow as much as they can. So I think, I don't think it's a blip. I think it's sustainable. I think they will slowly raise the price of it as more and more people get butts in seats and realize they do want this car, as the car itself gets a little better and cheaper to build, as economies of scale kick in and reduce their cost of goods sold, that they will be losing less money for sure, hopefully actually making money at some point. So I don't think it's a fluke.
Okay, perfect. And then the reason why you want to do this, it's not just volume, how many they're selling, it's what price point that they're selling. And this is where you see that, yes, these guys are selling quite a bit too, right? Siegel, but when you adjust by price point, they're not making, that's revenue. And like you said, they might not even be making a lot of profit. If you look at the profit, I love your comment, which is the profit that Tesla makes on Model Y is more than probably Siegel or some of these anyways. Like they're right in there.
Right. With just the markup, you could have bought you could have bought a Star Wish or a Wuling. Yeah, I'm a Star Wish. Okay, great. Hey, if you're selling them, sell them. But yeah, and then when you look at the amount of money that Tesla made off those sales, it's probably as much as the rest of the top 20 combined.
All right. The new Model 3. I've got one. I love it. This is the car I have, a new Model 3. It is the best car in the world. I think so. It looks gorgeous and it drives so well. The suspension is amazing. The sound dampening. And it's just one of the best cars I enjoy. Well, guess what? It won the Edmunds Top Rated Award in the electric car category. They called it the top rated electric car 2025. A big update turned out to be a game changing for Tesla's smallest sedan. Has always been good, but not great EV. That's what they were saying about the Model 3. But the major facelift that they did, including more range, improvements everywhere, better ride quality, sharper handling, nicer interior, professionally built quality. None of this came with a price hike. The Model 3 is still one of the most affordable EVs out there. So this is what they said: from range to price to performance, there are a few areas where the Model 3 doesn't have a leg up on competition. Their breadth is easily its greatest strength, from the quiet and comfy long-range model, which goes so far it easily dispels range anxiety, to the performance trim that delivers supercar numbers for a fraction of the price. The Model 3 delivers at every price point and has something for anyone looking at electric sedan. This is their, ad, I guess, right? And this is what should I play that?
And the character of the rear end, and the taillight goes with the tailgate.
We have a couple of exciting new colors. We call it ultra red, very high chroma. This is another new color, stealth gray.
As soon as you sit in the car and you close the door, you will immediately notice how quiet it is inside the car.
One of the other features that's really cool on the front of the car for wind noise is this little ramp on the edge of the hood. It takes the air that's coming over the top and deflects it over the windscreen, so you have a much quieter experience at high speed and even at low speed.
And then you'll also notice that when you try and make a phone call from the vehicle, there's less background noise, there's better voice isolation. One area that we really focused on was the interior of the Model 3. It's this really beautiful wraparound feel.
You will notice how simple everything is designed. We have this LED light coming through all the way from the center of the IP connected to the door.
So right now we have pink, we have a very light blue, I can even do green. The lighting continues on the rear seats.
The screen is being the hero of the car, so now the kiddies have a place to interact as well.
With the addition of the display in the second row, passengers now control climates. I can adjust the fan up and down. I can adjust their seat heaters. And here's a feature that I'm particularly fond of. They can even give themselves a little more legroom in the back.
We always want to maximize customer happiness. One of the biggest features we've been asked for is ventilated front seats, and we put that in the new Model 3.
We have this wing that's over the top.
It's a very unique textile that we have designed.
We have the improved steering wheel with haptic interface controls.
With speakers that are placed optimally all around you.
It really feels like a new car. The handling of the car is improved. The overall performance is improved.
You just have to experience it yourself.
What a great ad.
So the Model 3 is badass. There, I said it. It is a badass car. I had a chance to drive Jan from Tesla Fix's rear-wheel drive Model 3, and it was fantastic. We took it out on the Autobahn. I didn't get to go all that fast because, you know, traffic, but even the rear-wheel drive version is a fantastic car. But then I got to take it out autocross, a performance model last summer, and it was insane. It was a ridiculous car. I decided to go out and look for bad reviews of the Model 3. And the closest I could find to a negative review was, I wish it still had blinker stocks, or, you know, it's not as good as a car that costs 3 times more. Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. I should hope it's not. If it takes 3 times the money and it's still not better, you're doing something wrong. But then you've got reviews like, I think it was Carmudgeon or Carwow. I don't remember who was saying that that the BMW 3 Series no longer makes any sense. It has no reason to exist. It is twice the money for a slightly not as good car as the Model 3. It's everything. It's everything you want.
Great car. Won this award. Fantastic. So, Brian, what will happen in China when Tesla launches new vehicles in May? One of them will come out in May, apparently. It's going to come out. What's going to happen? Because we saw the price points, right? Model Y clearly dominates. Very, very expensive. Model 3 seems to be sitting there with, you know, doing fine. What's going to happen, though, when they go? Now, they're not going to sell something below the sub 20,000 US dollar version. So it's still kind of be right in there. But what do you think?
I want to see it. I want to see what it is. If I could ask an investor question, that would be one of them, is what is it? Just give us a hint. Is it a new form factor? And I think it is, but I don't know what. Is it a shorter, stubbier Model 3? Is it a 2-door Model 3? Or why? If it is, if it's a new form, if it's anything but cheaper, it's going to sell. The only way I could see it backfiring is if somehow it cheapened the brand of the Model Y. Like if they came out with a metal roof version of a Model Y, and now the glass roof people feel like, oh, I'm driving a poor person car. Maybe that tarnishes the brand a bit. But I don't think it's going to be just that. I'm more and more convinced it's going to be something much more interesting. And we're not seeing it, because a lot of people would just stop buying and wait for it. And we need to keep moving units until then. And besides, if it's anything like what I'm expecting, the line is going to be long to get it. But it would be, it'd be very exciting. And especially if this comes to the US while the tax credit is still available, if it would qualify. You've got a $25,000 car with $7,500 off. That is the cheapest car in the US at that point. The cheapest new car. There's nothing under 20 grand. So if this is 27 on the nose, it would be, with the $7,500 credit, forget being in Colorado or one of the other states with generous EV incentives, this would be the cheapest car you can buy in the US.
Yeah, I'm not expecting that at this point because Elon made a comment, right? They said that it'll be $30,000, sub $30,000 with the incentive.
Oh, well, that's not. Well, then it's not. Then how is it cheaper than a Model 3?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. This is great. What a great show. You obviously provide so much great information and you know a lot. Thank you very much. Follow Brian on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.